From the BzG studio in the Mission Dolores district, right in the heart of San Francisco, it's BzG News with Barrett Courtney.
Thank you so much. Thank you all the way in the back. Thank you all the way in the front. And thank you right here. What's up, everybody? My name is Barrett Courtney, and this is BzG News, the last resort for all of your nerdy news that you need to know about. Couple of housekeeping things today. We have a new segment coming up today, and I'll talk about that a little later when we get to that part of the show. But also, today is Friday, if you're watching this the day it goes live, and E3 is right around the corner. E3 starts in 2 days on Sunday, and a lot of the conferences, most of the conferences are on Monday, and you guys are probably thinking, Barrett, what, you guys have not said anything about how, if you're going to cover E3, what the fuck is going on? So let me break this down for you guys. Yes, we are covering E3. Here's how we're going to do it. We're not doing any live streaming shit because we don't have internet for that, and that's basically it. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch the conferences like plebs, much like you guys, over the internet. We're not cool enough to go to E3. I asked E3, I was like, yo, we're BzG. We have like 60 followers on YouTube. Can we get in? And they're like, no, bitch. So we'll be watching it online, much like many of you. And right after each conference, we will be recording like short reacts videos to each conference. So EA's conference is in the middle of the day on Sunday. The react video will probably go up later that night, just because Sunday we've got things to do that aren't video game related, so we're not going to be able to do it immediately. But I imagine right after Bethesda's conference, we will record and have a react video up for that. And then Monday is prime time. Monday, we will be on it with Microsoft. Will be live at 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We will watch that conference. We will record a react, and we'll get it up as soon as possible, hopefully before Ubisoft's press conference, and then we'll do that again for Ubisoft, and then we'll do that again for Sony. None of this PC gaming conference bullshit, because no one gives a fuck about PC gaming. So there you go. Or at least we don't give a fuck about PC gaming. You're allowed to give a fuck about whatever you want, but we don't. So get the fuck out. So that's how we're going to cover E3 this year. Sort of a better way to do it. Last year, it was sort of, I think we just dedicated a talking shit episode for it. And then, the way we record talking shit, those topics went out way later than E3. So E3 wasn't really relevant anymore. So this is like our way to like sort of have our reactions in a relevant space. So videos will be up on Sunday and Monday for our reactions to E3. So check that out and experience E3 with us. It'll be a fun ride. But anyway, enough about this E3 coverage bullshit. Let's get into the nerdy news that you guys care about. Slim pickings this week. It's slim pickings when I'm about to talk about this fucking game. For all of you JRPG nerds out there, Persona 5 has an official release date for the US, and it's February 14th, 2017, about 5 months after it launches in Japan. The game will be available for PS4 and PS3 for $60 and $50 respectively. Never played Persona 4, never played Persona 4 Golden, never played Persona Dancing All Night. I don't own a Vita because, I'm not a fucking loser. So I'm excited though. I've seen I think the one trailer of Persona 5, or at least I've only seen one trailer, and what I saw, it was really cool. And I asked my buddy Alex O'Neill from Irrational Passions, who's super into Persona, I was like, is this a good game to just jump into, because I've never played any of the previous ones? And he said, yes, Barrett, it is a perfect one to just jump into. It's like a different story. There's not like, you're not going to miss anything. There might be references to some things in the past, but you will still probably have a great experience. So I'm really excited actually to finally get onto that Persona hype, as the kids say, the hype train. The Persona hype train, which has actually weirdly been slowly building the last couple of years, from what I've seen. Like a couple of years ago, had no idea what Persona was. And then, every once in a while I'd hear a couple friends talk about it. And now it's this crazy fucking thing. And, I'll probably be like the next wave of fucking bandwagoners to come on for Persona. And I'm excited for that because it's cool to see like this sort of smaller JRPG slowly creep up and finally get this sort of acknowledgement across the board. So that's cool to see, even though I've never really paid attention to Persona before. So fuck yeah, Persona 5 in February next year. Or if you live in Japan and somehow for some reason watch us, you get it this year. So cool for you. Anyway, moving on. If you haven't checked the PlayStation Store in the last few days, then you might not know about Psychonauts being the most recent PS2 to PS4 game available. The Double Fine developed game originally was released in 2005 and has a sequel in the works, I think slated for 2018 abouts. So yeah, that's really cool. Psychonauts, another game I've never played. And once, I get money because I'm broke as fuck from Kinda Funny Live 2, I will probably, give Psychonauts a look and see if I want to get into that. Because, Tim Schafer Double Fine games are always a hit and miss. Because for me, it's really about like the worlds, because I'm puzzler games, fucking adventure games where you have all these convoluted solutions to how to move on in the story. Not a huge fan of, but, some of the games are... that story and that world are interesting enough for me to get into it. I don't know how Psychonauts plays. I don't even know if it's like a typical Tim Schafer adventure game. Probably is, because that's what he's known for. So maybe that world will be interesting enough for me to jump into it. Because Henry will know this. Henry Montiero, are you in the crowd today? No, he's not. I guess he's not. There's a recent Tim Schafer game that came out where you're like the boy in space, and then you're the girl. That game, I was like, whatever. The story wasn't interesting enough for me to be captivated. But something like fucking Grim Fandango, love that story, love that universe. That I loved it so much, I was able to deal with all the fucking bullshit, weird puzzles that you have to do in that game. So check that out. If you are a huge fan of Psychonauts and haven't played it in a while and are jonesing to play it, check that out. Anyway, moving on. Star Wars The Force Awakens finally left all theaters recently. Weird, right? We have the Blu-rays already. We have the DVDs. And it finally left theaters. Anyway, it is officially the most successful film ever in the United States. Star Wars has a domestic box office of $936.6 million, which finally dethroned Avatar, which has $760 million domestically. Really cool. Congratulations, like we've been saying for like the last 6-7 months, to the team who worked on that movie. Fantastic movie. Totally deserves all of the love that it's getting and all the attention and all the money that it got. So just a cool little thing. And I also just wanted to bring up, like, how weird is it that Star Wars was still in theaters, even though, it came out in December. So moving on. Volition has officially announced their new game. Volition being popular for Saints Row games. Agents of Mayhem is their new game. It is a single-player, third-person shooter where you take control of 3 protagonists who are fighting their way through an open-world Seoul, Korea. Yo, Ricky, how do you pronounce the city? Seoul?
What city?
Seoul, Korea, that really popular city in Korea.
I think so.
Seoul?
That sounds right.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm from fucking Cleveland, Ohio. But I shouldn't use that as an excuse to be an uncultured piece of shit.
I went to a charter high school, so.
You can't hear Ricky, I'm sorry. So it seems interesting. It seems very typical, wacky, Volition sort of shit, much like Saints Row. Very like hyperbolized with like colors and whatnot. To me, it seemed very sort of basic almost, of like, oh, hey, kids are wacky and cool, and we got to be wacky and cool like the kids. And it's just, I feel, and the name as well, Agents of Mayhem, does not stand out. Sounds like a fucking average 2004 PS2 game that you look at and you're like, oh, maybe I should get my parents to buy that for me. And then you forget about it the next day. It's like one of those fucking titles type of games. So it doesn't stand out. It's, I don't know. I'm not excited for it. I have not heard any hype for it. Like, all I've seen is like, oh, hey, this is a thing, and no one really reacting to it or responding to it or anything. So that's a thing. So look out for that, I guess. And the final piece of news that I wrote down, we sort of have some breaking news that broke this morning on Wednesday. We don't record this the day it goes out, so by the time you guys are watching this, you're like, yeah, no shit, this is news, Barrett, fucking shut up. I'm going to read the last piece of news that I wrote down, which will transition into some breaking news this morning. I wanted to just read this out loud because you know what? I worked hard on writing this little paragraph about this thing, and now there's something new about it. So whatever. More evidence of an Injustice 2 game rose when a leaked image of a supposed GameStop poster with Batman fighting the Flash was shared with the fine people at Polygon. The poster also had the tagline, "Every battle defines you." Rumors floating around say the game will be officially announced soon and will arrive on PS4, Xbox One, and PC in March 2017. I wrote that last night, Tuesday night, and then this morning, motherfucking, they officially announced Injustice 2. Coming, they didn't say March 2017. All they said was 2017. Really, really cool trailer, and the trailer was so like it brought me back of, fuck, I have Injustice in my library. When I get home, I'm gonna download that shit back onto my PS4 and play through that again. Sort of for the fighting mechanics and sort of for the story as well. Like it's a very weird comic booky story, but it's one that's really cool and interesting. Gets weird, but still interesting. Really cool moments that pay off well. And just like seeing the trailer of Superman and Batman, the Flash and Supergirl at one point, and Aquaman all fighting was just so fucking cool. And let's take a moment to give some credit to the fucking bae, Bryan Cranston, who narrated that trailer. I don't know if you guys fucking picked that out, but that's Bryan Cranston. And I was the one who figured that out just because of how much Breaking Bad and Malcolm in the Middle I fucking watch. I just know his voice. And it took me a second. I wasn't immediately like, oh shit, that's Bryan Cranston. It took me a second. And then there's like some, like, he says words certain ways and he gives them like a very like emotional push, like how he narrates. And it reminded me of like some of like Breaking Bad monologues. And I was like, oh shit, that's Bryan Cranston. So shout out to him. I don't know if he's in the game or if they just got him to do a voiceover for the trailer. I hope he's in the game because that would be really cool. Because the one thing Injustice didn't really stand out was the voice acting, which you don't really need for a fighting game. That's not really like why people play fighting games. But I think it would be really cool if they brought in like sort of like an fucking A-list of like voice actors to come in and play like voice acts for some of these roles, because that would be really, really cool. And like when you just take care of a game like that, that's when you bring in more people who might not be into fighting games but might be interested enough with like how you're presenting your game to check it out. So maybe that's something that NetherRealm is doing to get people hooked into it. And I was reading some things about how how you progress through the game, and so there's going to be like loot drops, and the way you customize like all of your like heroes could be very different to how other people do it. So it's sort of got like RPG elements in there of like being able to customize like certain gear that you put on will give like different abilities for heroes and shit. So seems a way deeper than the first Injustice, which was not very deep whatsoever. So it seems like they learned from Injustice, and not to say the first one was a bad game. Really, really liked it, and I don't usually like fighting games, but it looks like they're trying to find ways to improve the series for its second round. So props to them. I'm really excited, and it's got me so excited I'm gonna go home and play some fucking Injustice. Anyway, speaking of sequels, Watch Dogs 2 has officially been announced. The game is coming to PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC on November 15th later this year. You've got a bunch of shit was announced, like just a bunch of shit. If you watched on watchdogs.com, there's like the whole live stream for like 20-30 minutes of like what the game was about and all that stuff. Being a new journalism fucking dumbass piece of shit, I was not taking notes, writing down like, okay, I should talk about this, I should talk about this, oh, look at this thing. Did not do that. I'm a fucking idiot. I promise you next time I will do that. E3, I will probably have a journal to write notes down in. So for our E3 Reacts videos, I'll be a little more prepared. But some of the things I did remember was, so it takes place in San Francisco. Really cool. The one thing I'm a little worried about is there were some scenes, and this is, just me being a piece of shit who lives in San Francisco, and I'm sure people who live in Chicago when the first Watch Dogs came out, that they were probably thinking this as well. It's like, okay, yeah, there are definitely like definitive places that feel and look like San Francisco, yes, but then there are some places like the shady looking places of San Francisco that gave off more of an LA vibe to me. And I know not a lot of my viewers are going to understand this, but if you live in California, if you've been to both of these places, you should know what I'm trying to get at here. Like, there are just some locations where I was like, you would not see that anywhere near San Francisco. That's more of like suburbs of LA sort of thing. So there's just like some weird things about that. So I don't know if they're going to hit the vibe of San Francisco super well in all of its aspects. There are definitely some moments where I was like, oh yeah, San Francisco, or the kids wearing like the fucking mobile VR thing on the bus, like totally San Francisco. And then you've got the main character is Marcus Holloway, who is an African-American from West Oakland. That was the cool thing, was like, hopefully what Ubisoft is doing is actually paying attention to how the Bay Area works and where all of these like sort of different races like find each other and how they like define themselves from where they're from. And I really hope, and you know, I'm asking a lot for a sequel video game to a video game that wasn't that great. I hope there is at least mention and focus on gentrification of the Bay Area, because that is a big issue here. And I know it's not something that like a wide audience from everywhere is going to like really get into, but I think that would be like a cool thing to talk about, at least, of like, yo, a lot of these tech nerds came in and fucking just took over this entire city. If you go to the Mission District 4 or 5 years ago, completely different from what it looks like today. So it's just like, I hope they bring in little things like that, just because I think there are topics that are relevant and that need to be talked about. And so yeah, that's the thing. Anyway, Marcus is part of a group called DedSec, which is a group of hackers. You're not just like this lone wolf, Aiden Pierce. I'm a lone wolf, even though I have help from people, and I'm a basic white dude who's mad at the man for some reason, even though I am the man. Shut up, Aiden. So he's part of DedSec, which seems very much like anti like gentrification, almost of like anti super control, like CTOS or whatever the fuck it's called is back. And I think that actually is like a pretty good metaphor for like, hey, tech nerds taking over like what used to be a very authentic city. And it seems like these people learned how to hack and become hackers to get that out of the city that used to be authentic and genuine. So I think that's a really cool, again, bringing it back to something I want and I hope that's focused on. And then there's also gameplay-wise, parkour looked really, really cool. It didn't look like this fucking force, like, oh, we gotta like scale up buildings like we do in Assassin's Creed. It looked really fluid. And it's like, you know, at one point in like the reveal live stream thing, like Marcus was like hopping over shit and it looked really smooth and it looked really easy to do and fun to do. And that's an important thing. It looks fun to do. And it just looks like they're focusing on a lot more besides the hacking, and I really like that. They're focusing on melee aspects. They're focusing on other things, and I'm interested to see how they've improved the hacking. They mentioned a little bit like, yes, it's going to be more in depth this time. We know it was a little basic last time, and the one thing that they did nail on the head was like, you can hack everybody. You can hack almost every gadget and almost like every like thing that's fucking electronic like in the city. Almost everything. They said like 90% of like cars and shit like you can hack, and you can hack every person, which like in Watch Dogs, when they were advertising the first Watch Dogs, they made it seem like that, but then it was like, oh, you can only really look at like 10% of the people through your phone, and there's only like there's only specific certain things that you can hack to use to your advantage. But it looks like they're going all in, and that's what we wanted. That's what we expected when we were going into that game. So I'm excited. Though the two things I'm worried about in this live stream, they mentioned memes at one point, and like the meme culture and how DedSec is sort of a part of that, and that scares the fuck out of me. Because here's the thing. Marcus Holloway looks like, I don't know his age. He looks like mid to late 20s, African-American from West Oakland, part of this group that's trying to push away like internet people, tech people who are trying to like super control a city. It seems like they're trying to push that away. I don't see a fucking mid to late 20s African American from West Oakland who is also tech savvy. I will give him that. He's part of the tech universe to be into fucking memes and shit. Just like the word memes, when they said that, I was like, oh, that hurts. That hurts. Because they're doing the whole wacky thing, sort of like Agents of Mayhem, where it's like, oh, we got to be wacky and relevant because like the kids and stuff. It seems like they're doing that a little bit, and I'm a little worried. And then the other thing I'm worried about is driving mechanics, because Watch Dogs driving mechanics were fucking awful. They felt so bad. And that's like the other thing, where they didn't really talk about it a lot. So I'm interested to see how they play out the driving mechanics, if they're improved at all. Hopefully they are. So whatever. That was all the news for this week. But I have a new segment that I wanted to share with you guys called Don't Forget. And this segment was inspired by this last week. Mirror's Edge Catalyst came out. And the night before it came out, I was like, oh shit, right. That's coming out this week. Totally forgot about that. And I feel like a lot of other people did too. So I'm doing a new segment, a weekly segment, where I talk about the upcoming video games and upcoming movies that are coming out, just so you don't forget. So don't forget that Sherlock Holmes, The Devil's Daughter, is coming to PS4, Xbox One, and PC on June 10th. And also Ori and the Blind Forest, the definitive edition, is coming to Xbox One June 14th. Also, for movies, and I should have put like review scores for video games. I have review scores for movies. I didn't do it for video games. I'll do it next week. It's a new segment. I'm learning. For movies, opening this weekend. Now You See Me 2 is opening this weekend with a 47% currently on Rotten Tomatoes. The Conjuring 2 is also opening, 66% also on Rotten Tomatoes. And Warcraft with an 18% on Rotten Tomatoes. So got some slim pickings with video games and movies. This was like the worst week possible to start this segment, but I got excited about it, and I was like, oh, I should totally do this. And so there you go. Slim pickings this week. Sherlock Holmes, from what I remember, it was okay. Ori and the Blind Forest, totally fucking, people praise that. And if you haven't picked it up on Xbox One, do it. I've not personally played it, and I can't say anything about it, but a lot of people, almost everybody I know who has played the game, touched the game, is like, this is a really good game. So if you're looking for a really good experience, I imagine that might be something that you might want to look into. And for movies, slim pickings. 2 sequels, one of them being like, the first one was a magic movie, and it was like fucking the dude from The Social Network, and he's also fucking Lex Luthor, and he's a magic guy, and it's got Morgan Freeman, and it's all this shit, and it's like, whatever. The one thing I will say about it that might be worth it is Daniel Radcliffe is in Now You See Me 2, which, you know, Daniel Radcliffe being in a movie about magic that isn't Harry Potter, yeah, come on. That's gotta be worth it. There's gotta be a couple moments where they fucking like, they're being cheeky pieces of shit, like maybe referencing Harry Potter. That might be worth it. But then The Conjuring 2, like the first Conjuring, was that even good? And then the Warcraft movie, it's like fucking video game movies. Let's just give up. They're not gonna be good. Let's just stop. So there you go. That's what's coming up this week in video games and movies. Ladies and gentlemen, before we go, we have one more segment for you guys. Hankering Henry, where for some reason, I ask Henry for sexual advice. Henry, are you ready for this week's question? What's the thing that you should say when your parent catches you masturbating?
The best thing to do when a parent catches you masturbating is you got to show them who's really in charge in the situation. You got to look them right in the eye. Keep your hand moving, moving to a slow jerk motion. Let them know who's really in charge. Who really owns this house? It's you. You own that house. Not your mom, not your dad, not your grandpa, you.
I honestly don't know why. I don't know why I do this segment. It's terrifying. It terrifies me every time I do it. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been BzG News. Remember, our BzG News episodes go up every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time right here on youtube.com/BeaZonaGamers, and also on bzgamers.com. Don't forget, we have a website with all of our content, so check that out. Remember, before I wrap up and before I say goodbye to you lovely faces all out there, Remember, we're covering E3 this weekend, Sunday, Monday. We'll have reacts videos. That'll be fucking cool as shit. And also, let's see, episode 99 of Talking Shit is coming up, and we're also coming up on episode 100, so you might want to check that out too, because Talking Shit is an old man now, and BzG News is just in its fucking prime. Who the fuck knows where this show will go? I don't. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me this week for some nerdy news. I hope to see you next Friday at 9 a.m. for some more nerdy news, but until then, stay fucking nerdy. Thank you so much. Thank you over there. Thank you, Hankering Henry, again for coming on the show. Thank you.